Hello, friends. Welcome back to another edition of the Almost Monthly podcast. Today's episode is exciting. I just never know. Alrighty, Miss Donise Woodard, how are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Thank you for joining us today. Excited to have this conversation. You have been here a few minutes, right?
Yes.
And you are an early intervention developmental specialist in our children's department.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that?
For about 32 years. Before that, I was the music therapist at Lark Lane, and before that, I was the last preschool teacher.
At Lark Lane?
At Ryder. Our preschool was at Ryder, yeah.
So let's transition, a little further. Before then, where did you grow up? Where are you from? Where did you go to school?
You're from Findlay, right?
I am from Findlay.
I'm from Elida.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. What was life like in Elida growing up?
Very bucolic.
Okay. And you went to Elida High School?
High School, okay. Yes. And then I went to University of Dayton.
Wow.
And I have a Bachelor of Music in Music Therapy, but I graduated in the Reagan years, and so there were no jobs. I went to Waterville, Wisconsin, and I was a music therapist at Bethesda Lutheran Home in Watertown, Wisconsin. But then my mother became ill, and I have a younger sister that's 11 years younger than I am, so I came back home to take care of her. And there was no music therapy jobs, surprisingly enough. And so I went back to Ohio State and got my education degree. So it's a long and winding road.
Most roads appear to be that way. What was your interest in music therapy to study it in the first place? I mean, what was the inspiration?
Everyone loves music.
Sure.
And life is a waltz, and it was just perfect. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of funding for it. I was the music therapist at Lark Lane as it closed. And Denny Metzger, our wonderful principal, said, Donise, don't go over to early intervention. You can be here as long as my doors are open. And I think about that sometimes. I wonder if he'd still let me be a music therapist here, because the doors are still open.
Yeah. Right. I mean, was your family musical growing up, or did you have an interest in music as a kid? How did that piece come in?
Yes. My father was musical. My mother was not.
Okay.
And she was someone who could sing harmony and not mean to.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but it's so funny. One of my colleagues was saying, "Oh, my daughter's going to quit band." I was like, "What? Band is why you go to school. That's what it's there for."
And did you play in high school?
Oh, of course.
And what instruments did you play?
Flute is my first instrument, and then I played all the woodwinds.
Wonderful.
In college, of course, I had to play brass, and that was very difficult for me. And I had brass class, and then I went to psychology class. And my lips were killing me because you have to buzz them.
Sure.
And so I was sitting there trying to get feeling back in my lips, and the girl in front of me turned around and says, "That is so rude." And they're talking about Jung, and he's my favorite founding father. And I was like, my lips hurt. So I had to see, I've got a trumpet right here.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so you come back to, you study at Ohio State. Okay, and then take me through the winding road that you end up in Toledo.
Oh, I came to Toledo. I got a job in Toledo teaching elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And
what school was that?
It was at Fulton. It's not there anymore.
Okay.
And then I got a call from Pat Brogan, who was, I can't even remember her title, maybe assistant superintendent. And she said, can you do music therapy on the weekends with some of the children that would really benefit from that? And so
This was here at the board? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so on Saturdays, I would go to their houses. It was funny, foreshadowing the home visits I do now.
Sure.
And I would have a xylophone and my guitar and some props. And I would go to the children's homes. I did that for about 2 years, just as a part-time thing. And then she called and said, "Can you please come teach preschool for us?" And well, certainly. So.
And that's how you started.
Yes, I started at Ryder, and then I did summer camp as the music therapist, and then to the school age program. And then I was there for 2 Christmas shows, and then I went over to Ryder to be a developmental specialist. At the time, we were called early learning specialist, which I think is a more gentle name. I really like that better. Yeah. And, we're all students of life. We're all learners. Absolutely. But I think there's always an effort to be more clinical, more, data-driven. Mm-hmm. So I think that early intervention specialist sounds a little more official.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And best practices. Once I went to a home and the mother said, "Oh, the early introspection specialist is here." Oh. And it's like, okay, today we're going to talk about self-talk.
Some introspection.
But of course I didn't say that. I just said, no, what I am, developmental specialist.
So, I mean, the benefits and the mental benefits of music have been well studied and known, throughout probably since cavemen. But in layman's terms, for folks like me that are 30,000 feet above what you guys actually do, the Lord's work on the ground, how do our kiddos benefit from the type of stuff that you're doing? Music.
Well, it's many-fold. On one hand, you think of music as a tool to reach the children where they are.
Yeah.
And some of the children might respond to the rhythm, some to the melody. They've done studies, and it's so funny that supposedly a minor third is the most accessible. And so I should say, "Hi, Nabil." And that would be more attention-getting for you. They say that rhythm is processed by our brainstem so that anyone can sense and feel and understand rhythm. So there's that aspect. And then there's the aspect of making it fun and interesting that I'm always telling parents, how at the end of the Elmo show, he'll sing the word of the day on the melody of Jingle Bells. Do that. And, it's time for a bath, time for a bath, time for a bath right now. And that just can help with transitions. And then there's the aspect of music as a tool for language. And when we put motions with wheels on the bus, and the children can imitate those motions, and then they can put the words with the motions. And the next thing you know, they're singing all 57 verses. And that we learn all language through imitation. We learn most everything through imitation. Sure. So that they're motivated by the song and the motions to integrate that. So music I could just talk about it all day, really. And some people will say, well, isn't it a shame that you have that degree you never use? Oh, contraire. I use it all the time, every day. And so, and be more conscious. You probably use music more than you realize, too. Like, I was looking at Angie's podcast to sort of prepare myself to chat, and I was like, wait, he's got a tune in there. Oh, no, that's really professional. And just think how much that music added as a background to that podcast. So when I worked at Bethesda Lutheran Home in Watertown, Wisconsin, music was part of the rec therapy department. And so you think of music as recreation and all the fun that it brings. So there's a lot. And when I taught at Lark Lane, I was part of the therapy department. And then it was more as a tool to reach goals, like this child will follow this direction or this child will spontaneously participate. It just depended. We could use it any way it was needed.
And you still to this day play quite a few instruments yourself.
I do.
Including the lovely bagpipes that you entered
here
with.
Yes.
which, not to date this podcast, but we are hours away from the opening ceremonies of the Winter Olympics. And so you were kind enough to indulge us with the Olympics, the NBC version of their theme song.
The fanfare.
I don't know if Mount Olympia and Zeus and the gods thought of this would be the song, but it is the perfect tune. But what other instruments do you currently have in your bag of tricks?
Well, I'm a flutist, and I play the clarinet and the saxophone, and sometimes I'll just get those out. And I play the piano, but not very well. And it's funny, we made my son take piano lessons. And he said, "What am I doing this for?" And, well, because when you can play the piano, you always have a friend. When things go wrong, you can always go play the piano. And I find that that's often what I do. Once when he was younger and there was some terrible violent act on the news, he said in his childish innocence, he should have learned to play the piano. And then I play guitar. And I've always wanted a ukulele. And my son said, "Mom, don't you play enough novelty instruments? Isn't this enough?" And I said, "Oh, well, I would really like to I have a bass ukulele, but I would like a soprano ukulele, but it's in a different key, than the guitar. And so if I would play a D chord on the guitar, on the ukulele, that would be called an A." Mm-hmm. And I was afraid that my brain might explode. So I still haven't gotten a ukulele, but I covet one.
And for the non-kiddos, you have what appears to be a growing tradition, a beloved tradition of rewriting songs and sending off your retiring colleagues into retirement. Well, how did that come about, or who was the first inspiration that you thought this would be cool to do for this person?
Linda Stearman.
Okay.
And she was on our staff, and she was an RN. And she was a wonderful resource to us that, I have this boo-boo. What do you think? And she was well-loved. She was wonderful. And somebody said, "Hey, why don't you write her a goodbye song?" And the tradition was born. But it's so fun. Often the songs will just come to me. Yeah. And I'll be up in the middle of the night writing the words down, because if you don't write them down, the next morning it's gone. Absolutely. And my husband's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I just thought of Yolanda's song. Just a minute, I'll be right back." And it's funny because there's so many genres and there's so much music that sometimes I'll pick a song that's more obscure than I realize. When I did, for one of the girls, I did Yellow Submarine. We all work for LCBDD. It was a little while ago. And I said to one of my colleagues, "Do you know the song Yellow Submarine?" Yeah. And she said, "Oh, Coldplay did that, right?" I was like, "Ah!" No, that's Yellow. And so I sang it, and they're like, "We've never heard that song before in our whole lives." So, okie doke. And then they were talking more, and the one colleague said, "We better stop talking because she's going to tell this story to everybody." And I do. Right. And more recently, I did a song on Earth, Wind, and Fire's, I think it was September Song. And I said, "Do you guys know September Song?" "Yeah, they used it in the Troll movie." The Troll movie. Okay, good. You know that song, good. And then I used Mamma Mia for Tammy, who just left. Right. Yep. And I asked the question. I should ask it before I write the song. But so, do you know Mamma Mia? Well, we saw the movie. Meryl Streep, right? Yeah, well, there was this group called ABBA. Sometimes I feel like a history teacher. Yeah. Once upon a time, there was this group called ABBA. So, but that's good fun. Once Mickey, our speech therapist, was getting ready to retire. And she is a woman who's very in touch with her emotions. And we were at a staff meeting, and something had upset her. And she was very upset. And she said, "I better stop talking, or Donise is going to put this in my song." And I was like, "Uh-huh." I was writing it down.
That's funny. So I'm thinking about fish out of waters like myself, and we have a lot of new staff in the past, 5-10 years that weren't here, that are predated by Lark Lane School. So for those of us that, came here far long after Lark Lane School, describe what the school building and the environment was like across the street, where currently our service and support folks and provider support offices are.
Whenever I run into someone I taught with at Lark Lane, and we'll reminisce, and we'll say, we didn't know how happy we were. Wow. And we'll say, wasn't that a golden time? So it was a lovely time. We really put the children first and foremost. We were really dedicated to getting them into the community.
Yeah.
We would take little field trips at least twice a week. Of course, this was a different day and time. Southwick was still open, and Southland had many stores and restaurants. Yeah. And so half, and I can't remember the ratios, but a bunch of kids would go one day and they'd have lunch at the mall and shop, and then a bunch of kids would go the other day and go to Southland. So we were always having a picnic or a party, and just little things that we would do on our own. One of the teachers said, hey, let's pretend that we have a radio station and a television station, and every room will be a different TV show. Yeah. And then all the kids came through. And my room, I was Julia Childs. And so I had something that I think applesauce everybody could eat. And I had all the herbs that everyone could smell. And we talk about them. And it was just so fun. Just little creative things. It was a very lovely time. And it was funny when we moved from the Educare Center to our campus. I was so pleased to find so many of my old colleagues still here. Of course, now, sadly, they've gone. Sue Ozenbo and Lisa and Peter Brown is still here, and Steve Mortimer. And it really helped. I was sad to leave Educare because I'd been there for a while. My son had gone to daycare there, and it was really a lovely place for me for those years. And having them here was just such a gift. I was like, old friend.
How many, what was the population of the school? Like, how many students were?
Oh, let me think. This is going to be another history lesson. It was 1992, and they had just downsized. We had two schools. We had Jay Shore over in Oregon, and then now everyone was here on Lark Lane campus. And we grouped the children. The one wing had children who were doing more academic things, and 1 week had children who were working on their motor skills more, and 1 week one wing had children who were working on their social skills more. So that made it easier for the therapists too. But then we often would do cross programming where, well, let's put these two classes together and let's have music class today, or let's put everybody together and the bell choir will come and play for you. I had a bell choir and I would make the charts. We didn't have bells. We had, what was this called? They were like chimes. They were chimes, and they were more easy to play. The bells, you have to flick your wrist more, but these were more. And I would make charts of tunes, and our vice principal, Tom, I can't remember his name, it started with an S, would pop in, and every once in a while I would say, what tune was that? And he would get this terrified look on his face because he was like my mother who could sing harmony without meaning to. And he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, well, can we play it again? He's like, no, it's not going to help. I just can't hear the melodies. I'm like, oh, so sad. But it was a lovely time.
Yeah. You talked about, you said we used to be more child-focused, and now we're more family-focused, and you find that to be so much better. Explain
Oh, certainly.
the difference or what you like about it more.
In saying that we used to be more child-focused and we used to be more developmental goal focused. And we would say, 2 years old, should have 50 words, should have 2-word phrases. How we doing? And now we say, how's he letting you know what he wants for lunch? How does he let you know when he wants to go outside? How can we improve that communication so that you can better understand each other? And that we're now more functional. And I would come into the houses with this ridiculously large bag of toys and looked like Mary Poppins' bag. And we would do it, and it was so much fun. But that was just an hour. Where now I come in and I use the family's toys that they have there, or maybe their family who doesn't see toys as important, or a family who just can't afford toys. So what are we going to play with instead? And how can we use our time together as fun and creative in learning? And so we recognize more fully now the parent as the child's first and best teacher, and that we're a support to them. I always say, I'm your guide on the side, and I'm your support person to say, hey, let's try doing this and this and this, and next time I see you, let's talk about how these things go. And oh, Donise, that really bombed. Why did you tell me to do that? He cried the whole time. Okay, well, tell me how you did that. Well, I did just like you said. I put my leg out, I put him over my thigh, and he just cried and cried. Okay, well, what did you sing to him? What did you talk about to him? Oh. Well, let's try it again. You put him over your thigh, and let's get 4-year-old brother to come here and play patty cake with him. Well, he doesn't cry now, does he? Oh, mercy. So helping the parent be more aware of all the gifts they have as their child's first teacher, and also not to be another thing I have to do, to try, okay, now, you really like to watch The Price is Right, and you watch it every day. So have him sit over your thigh while you watch The Price is Right, and then you can just gently tip him and challenge his core strength. And that's your little break, and that's his little break. And so working our activities into the family's routine, embedding them so that it's not one more thing I have to do.
So I think we talked about that you're coming up on 34 years here at the board.
Yes.
What motivates you? What keeps you going? Clearly, you are very passionate about this after all these years. What motivates you?
Oh, my goodness. The children are so cute. They're just
That's got to help for sure.
So wonderful. They're all so wonderful. Yeah. And the parents are so interested. And I go all over Lucas County. And all the parents just want their kid to do the best they can. And so that I can support the parents in doing that, that's just such a gift.
Yeah. Very nice. So you'll be coming up on 34 years here at the board. You're also coming up on 40 years.
Oh, yes.
Of marriage.
Believe it or not. Yeah. Oh, one thing, can I go back to my colleagues? A third thing that's important about my job is my colleagues.
Yeah.
And when we started Britco, I was having just a little trouble seeing how it all worked together.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, there's a technical assistant that can give you support with that. So I was on a virtual meeting with this gentleman, and I was like, wait, I think I'm getting it. And what I can't put together and what you haven't helped me with, my young colleagues are very gracious in helping me with the computer.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. I'm like, well, of course. And he said, I work for this tech place, and my young colleagues don't even look at me. I was like, oh, how horrible.
Wow.
So just my young colleagues who teach me things and who are fun, and I'm sure they get a little tired of me when they complain about their children saying, enjoy every minute. And sometimes they'll even say, before you say it, I know, I'll be driving her off to college soon. It's like,
I know, but there are days that you're just, if time can go a little quicker.
No, the real.
No? How old is your son?
30.
30. Okay.
Yes.
What does he do? Is he around here or?
Sadly, no.
Okay.
He's a resident at the University of California, San Diego. He's in his 4th year. He has 1 more year there, and then right now he's auditioning, interviewing for fellowships. Wonderful. So I don't know where he'll go after that. We're hoping, well, in case one of his bosses would see this. And we're hoping he gets a good match.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how difficult it is that he's gone to Minnesota, and he was in St. Louis getting ready to fly to Houston 2 weekends ago, and Houston called and said, I think we're going to make this virtual because we're probably going to go off the grid. So he flew back to his wife in San Diego, and he had the virtual interview. But so no, he's far away.
But worse places to visit in the country than San Diego.
It
So
was
that's
funny.
got to be a bit of a.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And I was looking, I was like, wow, I love to garden. And so I'm really interested in their plants and trees out there.
Yeah.
I said, Thad, this tree looks like Dr. Seuss drew it. And he's like, yeah, Dr. Seuss is from San Diego. And I was like, no.
Oh my gosh, really?
No. And because there's this tree that looks like your little turtle should be sitting in it. And it has got like a puff of leaves and then a trunk and a puff of leaves and a trunk. And I had always admired Dr. Seuss so much that how could he ever have thought of a tree like that?
Right.
He looked out his window.
Turns out.
I was a little sad to find that out. It was like, oh well,
But it
it's
wasn't
still
his
wonderful.
imagination at all. It was just his eyes.
Just what I'm
That's
seeing
funny.
right out my window. But yeah, San Diego is so gorgeous.
Yes. You're also a big sports fan, you say.
Yes.
What kind of sports or teams? Or I thought the UC San Diego was some sort of.
Well,
Your
no.
lanyard was a sports allegiance, but now I see it's even more
It's my
than that.
son, yeah.
Right.
And I don't always wear it. I sort of change out with the seasons.
Okay.
But this summer, I was missing him so much. I have a baseball lanyard. And when it was time to move on, I put this one on. I'll say to my husband, I miss that so much, my bones hurt. And he'll say, no, that's your arthritis. I'm like, you're right. But yeah, so baseball is my first favorite sport.
Awesome.
And then I like football and basketball and then hockey if there's absolutely nothing else to do.
Amen.
And I was thinking, in some ways, that's how I've stayed married 40 years because we share the love of sports.
Awesome.
And we don't have to argue about where we're going on vacation because, well, we're going to see Thad. He was living in Baltimore for a while.
Okay.
And so we went to see the Orioles. And he lived in Philly for a while. So we went to see the Phillies. And he has an audition in New York. And we're like, we can go see the Knicks. That would be so cool. We've already seen the Yankees and the Mets. But one of Jules' fraternity brothers was in Jersey, and so he took us to the baseball.
Nice.
But so there was always something to talk about. We didn't have time to argue because, Sports Center's on. We can't talk now.
Yeah. How many Major League ballparks have you been to?
Only about 15.
What about? You're like halfway there.
I know, but I don't know. I'm worried about the southern swing because it gets so hot.
Right.
We were at Cleveland last year. I think it was July 5th.
Yeah.
And it was 104. And we had been in this air-conditioned snack room, kind of concession stand area. And it's like, well, they're singing the anthem. We better go sit down. And as we're leaving, it looked like a battleground because there was all these people laying on the floor with ice packs on their head. It's like, what are we doing? But Scooble was pitching. So it's a little...
worth the wait.
It was when we made it almost to the end.
Yeah.
And then it went into extra innings. And
my gosh.
Yeah, so we listened to it on the radio as we drove to get ice cream.
So we'll start with favorite ballpark of those that you've been to. Excuse me.
Favorite ballpark? Well, Camden Yards, because it's so well built. I was a little disappointed. The announcers were always talking about Boog's barbecue. Boog Powell, it's named after him. He was a first baseman for the Orioles. And
See, I'm among your history students, apparently.
yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be arty smarty pants. But so that was wonderful, except we got $100 parking ticket outside of Camden Yards. And my husband called Baltimore City to pay it, and they had lost the paperwork. So it was like, okay, thanks, bye. So that was fun. And then Yankee Stadium, just, wow, the monuments. Yeah. And they won. We went to 2 games there, and they won the one day. And they
this is old Yankee Stadium? Or
no, the new one.
Stadium? Okay.
The new one.
Okay.
It was Derek Jeter's last season.
Oh, nice.
And my son had liked Derek Jeter. Yeah. So we went there. And when the Yankees win, they play New York, New York, right. The Frank Sinatra version. And so that was wonderful. And it was Paul O'Neill night, the one night, and he grew up in Cincinnati, and it had been a Red.
Right.
And so that was so cool to see that. And then, of course, San Diego, Petco Field is so lovely with the palm trees and the big Tony Gwynn statue, except we had gone with friends from Toledo who live there now. And the husband has a very fair complexion. He has red hair. And so, okay, we got to get Coach out of the sun. So we had to, because the sun is a little closer there.
Yeah. Have you been to Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Because to me, that's my most beautiful setting and park, and
the walk across the Yellow Bridge.
The walk across the Clemente Bridge.
Yeah.
So I went to grad school in Pittsburgh, and that was and the school was right downtown, so it was great. Just like any random afternoon, Yeah. And they were and still are terrible. So tickets, for like $5, you can get in the park, but it was really nice just to be downtown and have access to that. But of the 9 or 10 that I've been to, I think that would be my favorite.
Yeah, that is a very good one.
But funny that you mentioned the Frank Sinatra thing. My first job out of school was a sports reporter in Hayes, Kansas.
Oh, my goodness.
Middle of nowhere. It's 4 hours to Denver and 4 hours to Kansas City, and there's nothing in between. But their summer baseball team was coached by a guy. He was the high school baseball coach, but he coached the summer pro team. And he was from New York. And the first couple of games that I went, they would play New York, New York after the game, like the Sinatra version. I'm like, in the middle of Kansas, why are we playing New York, New York? And then come to know that he was from New York, and that's kind of his tribute to his hometown. But
it's nice.
Okay, so what is you said school, so I assume you Tigers are your jam.
They're my American League team, and then the Reds are my National League team.
The Reds are, okay, because that's Southern, you went to school in Dayton, right?
Yes.
And why did you not the Reds and not the Indians?
The Reds, because I grew up near Lima, and so, and I'm old, Libya. I'm very old. And so the Big Red Machine.
We're
Johnny.
Yeah, sure.
Johnny Bench.
And do those two teams align with your husband's allegiances?
He is very forgiving of my National League preferences. He's Tigers through and through.
Period. There's no other.
Yeah,
okay.
and like it's for a while there. 75 was under construction, so dramatically, and it was really hard to get to the stadium.
Yeah.
So we would just go to Cleveland because we go over and it's right there.
Right.
And we sort of stayed in that habit. And he was a frat rat, so ATO. And one of his fraternity friends lives there, and we go with them, and it's a stitch. I love it. We had gone, this is 26, 25. I think the last game of 24 we had tickets to, and it rained, just rained and rained and rained. So they finally called the game, and the people who stayed, they gave them free tickets to one game in April. And then you could redeem your ticket for another game. And so that's when we went to see Scuba. But we went in April, and we were in the nosebleed section. But it was so beautiful. The vista of the stadium, Jacobs Field. They don't call it anymore.
Right.
What do they call it? Some bank probably.
Progressive Insurance, or not Progressive Insurance, just Progressive.
Yes, Progressive. Yeah. But that was just so gorgeous. You know the old movie Bull Durham, where the one character says the religion of baseball. There's some truth to that. You know, the cathedral. So
Yeah.
that's a beautiful stadium.
And now it's really cool with like depending on what entrance you're at, but you can kind of turn like Quicken Loans and the Cavs stuffs, on your right, and then the Guardians, is on your left. It's a really cool setup.
Yes.
So we're just going to do a couple of off-topic questions, if you don't mind indulging me in initial thoughts. What gave you joy this week, Donise?
Oh my. Well, you have to be very careful of HIPAA. One of my little ones had a breakthrough seizure, and was very ill. We thought we might lose him, but he's doing better, and he seems to be coming back, and I'm just so happy and thankful.
That's awesome. Your idea of perfect happiness.
Oh my. Oh my. Sitting on the couch with a good game and my husband and my son and my daughter-in-law, and going like this.
Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
Oh, I say peachy like 25 times a day.
What do you value most in your friends?
Oh, mercy. I have such dear friends, and they're also wonderful. And the grace of laughter, and being able to take a joke, and seeing the humor in things.
Becoming less and less obvious and clear as time marches on, right? Where would you most like to live?
Where's the camera? I'll look at it and say, wherever my son settles.
Wherever your son settles, is retirement even within your vocabulary?
Oh, you're not getting rid of me that easy, Nabil.
No, please. No. But if that's your answer as far as your son is concerned, but obviously you have.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I've got a lot of work to do.
Right.
We've always laughed. We don't have the phones on our desks anymore, but they would be like, I'd be on the phone, and they'd be pulling my leg. Come on, it's time. You got to go. No, I've got to make this last phone call. Come on, you've got to go. We always used to laugh that in playgroup, that instead of following the child's lead, that eventually we would sit on the mats and go, come here, baby. But got a lot of work to do yet.
Obviously, the work you're doing is maddening and magical and awesome and happy and sad and the full gamut of emotions 40 plus hours a week, every week. What is I think I know what you're going to say, but perhaps there's a different answer. But what is your therapy or get away from that?
Well, there's sports and there's music and there's my friends in the garden. And so it's funny. I always think of the Tom Petty song, you never slow down, you never grow old, and looking for new things to do. Like my sister-in-law plays violin in the Sylvania Orchestra. And she's like, we need flute players. And it's like, no, flute players are a dime a dozen. She said, no, we need flute players. So just keeping busy and understanding that we're all doing the best we can. And understanding that you just have to relax.
This has been delightful, getting to know you and getting to know you a little better. Thank you for being here on the podcast.
Certainly,
And also
certainly.
thank you for your time. Okay, so explain the reasoning or method of what you chose to play coming in and going out.
Well, it's a fanfare, and you play fanfares before something special. So this was our fanfare.
Okay.
And so now my exit music, we always play Wings to leave. So I'm going to play Wings. And you always play an E to start out with. It's the gets everybody ready and gets everybody, all the pipers on the same E and listening to each other. And here we go.